All right. Welcome to ZTV The Podcast. My name is Juan, and I'm a professor of practice in the School of Communication at the University of Akron. And I also work as the general manager of ZTV, the student-run television station at the university. This podcast is about sitting down with some of our members, some of our more seasoned members, to hear about what their experience has been like in ZTV and perhaps a space for them to share a little bit of wisdom and for them to share how ZTV has made an impact, hopefully a positive one, in their academic career and also in preparation for their professional career. Today, I am joined by Payton Burkhammer, our social media director and former producer of Lowdown. Welcome, Payton.
Thank you, Juan. It is so good to hear from you and see you again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. One of the reasons we're starting this podcast is because we are all quarantined somehow. Well, maybe not quarantined, but we're on stay-at-home orders due to the coronavirus pandemic. And creative people like you and your cohort of producers cannot sit still not producing content. So this is how this kind of got started, right?
It's been very hard. We miss each other so badly. We constantly are texting each other, talking to each other, talking about how much we miss making content together. And video is such a specific thing, and all of us have these very specific niche shows that we do and we're so proud of and we put so much effort into. And not being able to do that on a consistent basis has been so hard for everyone. And we just miss the atmosphere too, just being around each other. And for a lot of people, this is their senior year, and this is the last semester that they will ever make content for this station. So it's been a sad time. It's been hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine, especially for a lot of the seniors that are close to graduating and that have put so much time and effort into producing the content. And, it makes me sad to hear that, that kind of reaction from all the members at the station. And there's a part of me that also looks at that reaction with a sense of pride, just because, it just shows how much you're enjoying the experience and how significant it is for all of you. So Payton, you're finishing your junior year, and
Yes.
you've been with ZTV since you were a freshman. Can you tell me what made you think about joining ZTV? How did that get started? What made you think about joining a program like this, and what it was like for you at the very beginning?
Sure. Well, coming to the University of Akron in general was just luck, I'd say. I don't know if I've told you this before, but the day that I came to the University of Akron, I had never been here before. A lot of people who go to the University of Akron are usually kind of from the area or surrounding counties. That's where the majority of the students come from. So the day that I was a senior in high school, I was doing a ton of college tours. And the day that I was supposed to tour this other school that was in Virginia, I was going to go on this long 5-hour drive from West Virginia, where I'm from, and visit this school. That day, my mother had a sit-down conversation with me, and she said, Payton, it's too far away. I don't think it's going to work out. But since you have the day off of school, if you want to look at somewhere a little bit closer, maybe we can try to get in a tour today somewhere else. So I was looking up different media programs and trying to find somewhere that I really wanted to tour and see. And one of the first things that popped up when looking at media degrees was the University of Akron in Ohio. So I said, okay, we called and they said, we happen to have a big tour group going around today, so why don't you come and visit? And so I came down and they did a tour of Colby Hall, where we do everything in the station, and I just said, this is it, This is ZTV, this is amazing, the studio is so beautiful, all the people up here are so nice and friendly, and they were so willing to talk with us, and it just seemed like exactly what I wanted to do and exactly where I wanted to be. So maybe unlike some other people at the station, everyone has such a different story about how they joined or why they joined. Coming to the University of Akron, it's where I knew I wanted to be exactly, was in ZTV and making content for this television station. So my freshman year, my first semester, My roommate and I actually were both really interested in doing ZTV, so we kind of worked together and got our applications in super quickly and really try to throw ourselves into the whole experience of it.
Oh, that's great. Every now and then we hear from students that basically mention that their choice to come to the University of Akron was based on joining one of our programs, whether it was ZTV or WZIP. So tell me what it was like for you once you joined, going through the training program. What was the experience like? How was it difficult to start forging relationships at the station? Working with peers and the learning experience as a whole for you.
Yeah, it was difficult starting out.
It was?
It was, just because, you see all the people there and everyone's, all these people who were seniors at the time who just seemed like so, above you and their experience level and everything that they're doing was just like, wow, that just seems so hard to get to that level. So coming in, it was really intimidating meeting those people. People who, when I was a freshman, they were, about to graduate and had all this experience and, ran their own shows. It was just incredible to see. So when you first join as a new member, you get this sheet that you have to have people around the station sign, and there's like a point system. So you have to just go up to people extremely awkwardly and ask them if they can sign a paper for you and talk to you. And it's like this point system to make friends and to foster friendships through this point system. So doing that was always a little bit awkward, but I definitely forced myself my freshman year, my first semester, to just go up to the station and sit in our director's room and just be there as much as I could. Just be there and sit there and get in on other people's conversations and try to make friends with people, because if you aren't within the ZTV cluster, the group, if you don't really know what's going on, it's sometimes a little bit hard to like break into that. But I was just very persistent about pushing to make friendships, sitting down with people, trying to meet as many people as possible, and just know everything that I could about the station.
Yeah, you're definitely touching on some of the concerns that are very common for new members. I hear all the time, I don't know, I feel awkward approaching that person, and they seem so confident, and I'm intimidated, and I don't know what to do. And I simply tell them, like, you just need to come to the station and literally hang out, and people will receive you with open arms and try to include you. And before you know it, people will be inviting you to things, or they'll be inviting you to join their productions or their studios and whatnot. And that's a key component. Media is such a social trade in so many ways. So that's also a great practice to get ahead of the game.
Exactly. I always feel so hypocritical telling new members that now that I'm, now that I've been there for so long. I'm just like, you just have to be up here and be around people and talk to people. But, reflecting back, I remember how awkward it was for me to do the exact same thing that I'm telling people to do now. But really, you just have to do it. You just have to get in there and be persistent and talk to people. And people there are so friendly, though. They're so willing to help, but it's just that intimidation factor, I think, that gets in the way.
Yeah, every time I give away those signature scavenger hunts, I just tell people, don't worry, when they see you with the paper, they'll know exactly what it is because they had to do it too. So, but I don't know if that is really helpful. But anyway, so tell me about the first show that you joined. What was the experience like for you? Did you have experience, holding a camera, doing recordings before that? And what was the learning experience once you joined the team?
Before coming into college, I had absolutely no experience with professional cameras, video editing, really, anything like that. I just thought it seemed like a really cool thing to do, and it seemed like the best job in the world. But so I started out on the show Lowdown, and I really connected to the content of Lowdown, which is why I think I initially joined. Throughout high school and growing up, I did a lot of musical theater. I was in speech and debate. I just really loved movies and music and everything, going to events and things like that. So Lowdown just seemed like the perfect match for me. Starting out, it was really hard to get accustomed to things just because, you have this training, and it's kind of this basic training of cameras and editing and things like that. But there are so many social things about going out on shoots with people and contacting people and kind of running your own shoot that that just come with time and practice and learning, how to set things up and interact with people. That's not really the kind of thing. It's a little bit hard to teach. It's much easier to learn whenever you're actually on the job of shooting and you say, oh, this is how I should interact with people. This is how to make people that you're just meeting feel comfortable with you. This is how to pick a great location for filming or how to work around problems. So when you're just starting out, you don't really know any of that. And it's kind of a learning curve and a learning process to get used to it.
Yeah, I often tell students when they're finishing their training program that at the beginning they shouldn't feel discouraged, because the way this program works is once you finish your training, we kind of throw you into the lion's den, and little by little you start getting the hang of it. But it does take time. The learning curve is not immediate, but ultimately if the students are just getting out there and getting out of their comfort zone, the program is not just going to build a skill set, but it's also going to build that level of confidence that they need. So you were in Lowdown for a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the segments that you were doing, specifically if you were going to cover music bands or doing art fests or?
Yeah, actually, I have such a clear memory of my very first Lowdown shoot, and it was actually a really, really cool, it was just a really cool event that was happening. It was kind of this like arts sort of festival, and they had all types of paintings and art that was submitted by students at the University of Akron. So it was super topical because all of these art students were submitting all these pieces of art that were really, really cool. And then it included also just like local musical artists too. So it was like all these performances happening during the day and all this art that was there too. So it was just like a really cool place to be, and there were so many people there from the community. It was a really cool shoot. Like I'm really looking back, I'm surprised that I like found something so cool for the first one that I ever did. I think that inspired my love really going throughout Lowdown for doing kind of event coverage, just when there's a lot of stuff to see and take in and do and a lot of people to talk to and people who are like coming for all these different types of things. Some people who are coming there for the art or the music or the food, all this different types of stuff. So going throughout my Lowdown career, I really wanted to get more of that involved in our show. So I think that's what came out more in the packages that I did. But I also did a lot of band coverage as well. And that was completely different than anything I'd ever done. Again, going back to the thing where, there are a lot of social things that you don't know before you actually go out and do them on these different types of shoots, especially Lowdown. So doing a lot of band shoots, something that you don't know maybe starting off is that when a band says that they're going to be performing at 9 o'clock, typically that means that they're going to be performing at like 11 o'clock.
My kind of people.
Exactly. So some things like that you just pick up as you go. So sometimes my members would come to me whenever I ended up producing later on, and they'd say, Payton, they told me that they were going to perform at again, like 9 o'clock. And so I got there at 8 and we did the whole interview, and then it was 3 hours before they did their performance. And I was like, yes, that happens actually to a lot of people. And sometimes, when bands are touring and they're doing tours and they don't really know what their venue is going to look like, you'll come in and you'll say, okay, where would you like to do the interview? And they have absolutely no idea. So you have to think on your feet a lot too. I think that's one of the great things that show taught me, is to be really flexible and really adapt to whatever situation that you're in. Sometimes you're not going to be as lucky as the first shoot that I ever went on, where there's a ton of things to film and so many people there that are so excited about the arts and the music that's going on.
Absolutely. So once you get a little bit of experience in Lowdown, you decide to throw your hat in as a potential producer. You apply for the job and you get the position, and all of a sudden it's Payton Burkhammer, producer of Lowdown. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide to go for the producer job, and if you can tell people watching or listening, what is the difference between just being a regular member in Lowdown versus producing the show?
Again, your first semester that you ever join ZTV, you do your training. You learn the ropes, you shadow people, you talk to lots of different people, and then after that, you're invited to join a team. So the producers who, again, these are job positions that you have to interview for, and you get placed if you get the job. They take all the members that want to join all these different teams, and we place them in all the different shows that they have an interest in. So after my training semester, my first semester, I was a full-time member of the show that I was on. So I was working under the producer, and I was submitting to him package ideas and things like that, and I would edit my own video, and then he would do the final edits on that and create an entire episode. So looking back, it's hard to remember exactly why I threw my hat in, because again, I had only been a member for one semester, which is pretty crazy. I think I was really worried coming into school that looking at all these people and they had all this experience, I just really wanted to be at that level. So I really pushed myself to learn as much as I could in the short amount of time, in a couple of months for the semester. So I really pushed myself to go on as many shoots as I could, to be there long hours, to train with the producers that were already there, to learn how they edited, how they filmed content. And I think just by pushing myself so hard and being so involved, I feel like I started getting pretty good at it. And I just really love the content, and pushing myself so hard, I felt like I started making really good packages, kind of standout packages out of my team. And most of the producers, at the end of their year, they'll tell you, if anyone's interested, if you think you make pretty good content, if you think you would want to manage a team in the future, you should try it out. And looking at the rest of my team, some of them were seniors graduating. Some of them, didn't think that they were ready to be producers yet. And I kind of thought, wow, this might come down to me being the only one who's really interested in producing. And it was really intimidating, again, because I had only done it for a semester. And that was a little bit unusual for producers who had only been on a team for a semester and then going into producing. But I really had a passion for it, and I just loved the content so much, and I loved making it. So whenever I interviewed to be a producer and I finally got the job, it was just crazy to me. It felt so fast, going into my sophomore year, that I was producing my own show. And the experience was just so wonderful and so fantastic. But what was funny is that I was the youngest person on my team and I was the one producing. So being a 19-year-old, talking to these 21, 22-year-olds, telling them what to do and having them pitch me ideas was a little bit unusual.
Yeah, I can imagine. Or to say, hey, your package is delayed. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. Yes. I feel like I would be probably described by my peers then as just like very scrappy and very ambitious, and really putting myself out there and trying hard. But I really loved it.
So tell me a little bit about the challenges of being a producer. What do you think are some of the things that people who might be considering going into a producer position should be aware of in terms of not just helping students produce the content, but also in terms of managing the team, working with deadlines, and working with quality control?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so easy to look at producing when you're not doing it as simply controlling the content, or, taking people's videos and editing down that content and kind of creating your package. But there's so much more to it than that. And there's so much about the managing aspects of it and the social aspects of it that I think maybe we don't talk about enough, that things that are, difficult to go through. Whenever you have to lead a team, it's not just, again, making the content, it's keeping up team morale. It's helping people, being a good teacher, being a good leader. It's giving people criticism that's actually helpful. So these personal connections that you end up making with people, you're such good friends with them, but at the same time, you are also their boss. And it's kind of a balance, learning how to take both of those things into consideration and be a good friend and a good boss at the same time. But yeah, there's just so many social aspects that go into it. And it really taught me how to, again, give good criticism and be a good leader and be a good supporter at the same time. It can't all just be criticism about things that people do badly. You really have to learn how to praise the things that people do well at the same time, and to take something that maybe you don't think is as good a quality and help them shape that into something that you really enjoy and really like. But it's so cool. Managing that team was so fun, and seeing them grow from the beginning of the semester to the end, and just me being able to grow with them as well. Being someone who takes their content and makes it into something greater, and seeing the joy that brings them is such a cool experience.
Tell me a low moment for you as a producer that you can look back and say, man, that was horrible, or that didn't go well, or I didn't handle that well.
This is a hard one, Juan.
I know, I kind of had a flashback to how I do the job interviews and ask for, like, give me three strengths and three weaknesses.
And I couldn't do it.
No, you could. I'm just in general. People are like, let me think.
Yeah, 3 seems like a lot. 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses. That's a lot, Juan.
I try not to make it easy.
I know, yeah. Going through an interview process with you is really interesting.
Tell me about that. What was it like to see me go from, because I hear that I turn into a slightly different person when I'm just a general manager versus when I'm doing the job interviews for the positions.
Oh yeah, you do. It's interesting going into it, because I think we all try to treat you as if we don't know you, even though we're around you so much and you're our professor. So we really try to take it seriously and treat it very formally. And I think we come into that with that mindset, but no one expects you to take it as seriously as you do. Like, you really are like, okay, here's your time, prove yourself to me. And some of these people are thinking, I'm the only one applying for this position. But you don't make it easy on us. But I think that's what makes it such a good experience, is because even though sometimes, again, we might not get it right, or we might not have 3 weaknesses and 3 strengths laid out in our minds after that experience, we do. We learn to say, okay, now I need to think of these things that I need to have for future interviews. So that's why I even told members who maybe weren't even that interested in becoming producers, apply for the position, interview with Juan, because he's really good at interviewing with you. He'll treat you like he doesn't know you. He will make you think, wow, I need to brush up on what I'm going to say for these things, because that's something that could absolutely be asked of me in a real interview. Yeah,
I think that's part of the reason I try my best to do it as difficult as I can. There was an instance where I had one person apply for a producer position individually, another person apply for the same position individually, and then both of them decided to apply jointly for the same position as producer. And when they both came in, I had to really think out of the box, like, how do I put them in the spot together, because they already saw me interview them.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. But so tell me a moment of pride for you as a producer of Lowdown. I can think of one, but I don't know if it's gonna be the same one as yours.
Same as mine.
Yeah. So if you can think back and look at a moment that you felt, wow, that turned out really well, or we did this. What would that be?
Wow. I think looking back at my very first live show I had so many feelings going into that. I remember the night before, I was just exporting everything and finalizing these graphics and doing everything, and I was having like a major panic attack. Like, I was having trouble breathing. I was just thinking about all the ways that this could go wrong. And there's just so much that's up to chance in a live show. And I'm such a planner, I'm such an organizer of things. So having so much kind of up in the air, having a live performance, having live host bits, things like that, really relying on your team to come through for you. It's such just a roller coaster of emotions that you have during the whole event. So when the live show actually happened, I thought things went really, really smoothly. And just seeing, well, whenever you're actually producing a live show, I don't know if people really know this, but all the teams kind of come out and support you, and there are lots of other people there to help you out and just be there and watch the live show as it's going on. So, when you're in your little lowdown team, it's kind of just like this small team of people all the time, and you're not used to people seeing you as a team. People can talk about it, but not everyone is used to seeing everyone there at the same time, like working together. So it was almost the pride too of my whole team being there and working really well together and putting in so much effort, and everyone there to see us as a team and see what we were capable of and what we could do. And so getting through that was just this huge milestone for me, and I really look back with that with fondness.
Great, great. I actually think that, the fact that you had such a successful first live show paved the way for you to get a lot of experience with live to tape programming or live programming. As a member, aside from your producer experience, can you share a little bit about those experiences that you've had as a member of ZTV when it comes to directing and producing programming, aside from Lowdown?
I remember the very first time I directed any sort of live show, and we were doing these gubernatorial interviews with state representatives who were coming to Akron to do these interviews with a mediator. And Juan was like, "Payton, you've been watching these for a while, you should direct one." And I thought that was a joke. Like, I'm not going to actually direct one of these. Are you kidding? I don't even, was I a full member yet? I don't even think so. I think I might have been a new member.
I think you were on your first semester. Wow. As a full member.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But I thought, absolutely no way I'm doing that. That's way too much to put in my hands. But I ended up, Juan, you went over all the controls with me, and I sat down and I did it, this hour-long, live broadcast, which is insane to look back. I don't know if I would trust me with that, looking back at it, but I did it.
Well, and it should be noted too that those live interviews, it was a collection of interviews with candidates running for Senate and also for governor of the state of Ohio. So we had quite a few of them, and they were not only live streamed on the University of Akron's YouTube page, but they were also live streamed on WKYC's Facebook page. So, but I knew you could do it. I had no doubt. And, just so the audience knows, Payton has also directed our graduation ceremonies in the past. Those are live streamed also on the University of Akron's YouTube page. And you've also worked on directing, on technical directing the Coach's Corner show, which is co-produced with the Department of Athletics and airs on Sports Time Ohio. And I do want to talk about maybe one production that you've done that has been very special, but that you maybe you had a struggle with from your point of view, but from nobody else's point of view, that struggle was non-existent. Can you tell us a little bit about a special program in ZTV called UA at Night?
Of course. So UA at Night is this annual thing we've kind of picked up that we've done for the last 3 years now. But it was this idea that we wanted to take content from all the different shows and put it together to make one kind of massive live production. That was just a culmination of everything that we had to offer, So every single show was involved, their producers were involved, their members tried to be involved. So it's a big production to take on. And coming into my junior year, I was a little bit surprised that I was at the helm of it and I was directing it. But I had a lot of experience doing live show production, and I really loved directing, and I knew kind of what went into a live show and what had to happen to make a live show become something. So yeah, it was a lot of work. A lot of work went into that. It was a crazy amount of work, just getting teams interested in it, getting people to sign up for different jobs and positions, and then running the rehearsals of it too was just a lot of work, because it's unusual for a producer to produce other producers, and that's how it felt at the time. It's like you had this team of producers that would never really meet together, but you had to like keep them on schedule and keep them on track as to what content that they were going to make for the show, and making sure that they were on schedule with making their videos, the videos that we had edited that we were putting in the live production, like being on top of that. So it was kind of this unusual thing where I was the director of our current producers and making sure that they were directing their team members as well. So it was just like lots of levels of production that went into this. But yeah, so we led these long rehearsals, scheduling timing for this hour-long production was really difficult. And we had live music incorporated with it as well, live sketches, green screen, filmed packages, live packages, dancing, all of this crazy stuff that went into this huge production.
Yeah, I will probably say UA at Night to me is one of the most ambitious programs that ZTV has put into practice, into production. And it's just because it poses challenges on the management side, on the directing side. It poses technical challenges. It really forces people to think creatively about how to accomplish a production with the resources that we have. Yeah, definitely not a program to produce for the faint of heart. So, no. And another question I wanted to ask you, Lowdown received an Emmy Award in the student category from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Lower Great Lakes chapter.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that experience was like, how it felt to have your team be nominated and to ultimately receive the award?
Going to the Emmys is just one of the coolest experiences that you can do in ZTV. I know not everyone gets the chance to go, but if you do, it is just so fun and so cool to be there. Again, even just the location of where it is, like last year when we went in Cleveland and my team got the chance to win this award, there are just so many people there, all with just the same passion as you. It's just such a cool experience to be surrounded by people who are in the media industry and people who are even alumni of the University of Akron who are there receiving awards on stage. It's so cool. But it really was a team effort to put together that whole package of videos that we had together. And I think I worked really, really hard on editing it and taking all the great content that we had that semester and making it really seamless and flow into each other. So getting the nomination even was such a cool accomplishment. Saying, as a sophomore, I'm producing the show and I already have like this Emmy nomination after my first year producing, which is just a really cool thing to say. So going there was just, again, being surrounded by the people that you've worked so hard to get there with is so great. And I think we didn't even really need the win to feel, good about ourselves for being able to be there and to make fun content. Because again, we don't make the content to go to the Emmys and win awards. We make content to learn and to grow and to show off the cool things that are in our city. But being there just makes it just a little bit more special.
Sometimes I get the impression, if we don't win an Emmy, or if I win an Emmy or a college production award, I'm gonna get job offers and whatnot. That's not the right way to look at it. We're here to produce the content and learn. The college production awards and going to the Emmys is just a recognition that we are doing the right things. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a super cool thing to be there and be recognized and to see everybody just receiving these recognitions, whether they're current students or our alumni from our program too. Yeah. I'm glad that you're touching on that. So, currently you serve as the social media director for ZTV. Can you tell people a little bit about what it's like running a department totally solo? Because that department has no team. It's just you as a social media director.
Just me. I mean, whenever we first started this job position, because it's only existed for these past 2 semesters since I've been doing it, I know there have been a lot of transitions between having a full promotions team and having people run individual social media accounts and doing things very differently. So it's interesting that we've been able to create this position, you and me together, where someone oversees the social media accounts and runs them solo. Again, my main focus has always been obviously video production and, you know, working on television shows and stuff. So it's interesting that I get to do something a little bit different within the program as a director for the social media. But it's been really interesting being able to work with producers and help them see kind of the marketing side of things. And it's made me a lot more aware of the marketing side of things too. Watching videos about how to, you know, make tags for YouTube algorithms so they'll pop up more on your timeline, or making titles that sound more, you know, like buzzwordy, I don't know. But scheduling posts has been kind of a struggle at times, just because there are so many accounts to take care of and so many things to oversee. But it's made me a lot more aware of the marketing side of things and how to structure your social media. And since I'm getting a social media certificate through the University of Akron, it's given me a lot of hands-on experience with understanding what it's like to manage accounts.
You have been, you've produced content, you've produced a show.
Yes.
You teach, you run the social media, you've done special programming, you've worked with clients that, producing content for our clients.
Yes.
You know, you've had a pretty full and rich experience in ZTV. Before we end, could you share some of your words of wisdom of what you've learned to anybody who might be considering joining ZTV, or anybody who is part of the station but just getting started?
Absolutely. So for anyone who wants to join ZTV but is kind of on the edge of, I don't know if I want to join, I do know if I want to join, I would say that there are so many people within the program that say, I wish I would have just done it earlier. I wish I would have just applied, and wish I would have just done the training, because the people I've met up here and the experiences I've had are so integral to my experience at the University of Akron. And I would not have had the same college experience if I would not have joined this TV station and been a part of this really cool experience. So I'd say just go for it. And, you know, if you do your training and you're not as into it as you thought you would be, that's okay, but at least try and put yourself out there, because for a lot of us here at ZTV, we could tell you that this program is so important to us and so important to what we're going to do in the future. And it's made me so many connections with people as well. It's not just being able to learn how to produce content, but meeting other people who you might meet later in the job field, who you say, oh, we used to be in ZTV together. I know what your work ethic is like. I know what you've done. I know what content you've produced. You know, that could help you get a job somewhere else in the future. For people who are training right now or about to join, I would say, again, just put yourself out there. Try to spend time with people upstairs. Ask a lot of questions. Be super annoying like I was when I was a new member. Just going on too many shoots and holding audio just so I could be a part of things. Do crazy stuff like Juan was telling me, doing live production your first semester. Just put yourself out there and do as much as you can as soon as you can, because I promise once you get started and once you start meeting people, you're only going to get better from there. And this is really a peer mentored environment. So the more you talk to people, the more you're going to learn from people. And that's just going to make your content so much better. If you have a friend that's looking over your shoulder and saying, hey, I think it'd be cool if maybe you added this type of graphic, or have you ever learned about this type of effect that you can add to this? So making those connections with other people is also just going to make whatever you make a lot better as well.
You know, students should try to do what you're trying to do, which is also getting a pretty wide experience. You're not just focusing on doing only one thing. The recommendation would be to try to get as much experience as possible in different areas of production, production management, building connections, networks, and whatnot. So, you know, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me about what your experience has been in ZTV, and you know, you're definitely on a good path to see a successful career, and that's definitely what I wish on you and all of our members in ZTV. So before we sign off, I just want to invite anybody who might have any questions to email us at ztv@uakron.edu. Again, that is ztv@uakron.edu. And you can also check out our website, ztv.uakron.edu. Again, that's ztv.uakron.edu. And you can also find us on social media, ZTV Akron, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My name is Juan Contreras, Professor of Practice and General Manager of ZTV in the School of Communication at the University of Akron. Thank you to Payton Burkhammer for sitting down with me. And I will see you next time in ZTV The Podcast.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.